sure, you know, that's going to be a lot of people. So, I'll leave it up to you, Kamelia.
Okay, great. So then if I just kind of touch the screen, then we're good?
Yeah, we're good.
Okay, great. Hello, everybody. I'm Kamelia with The Hackerette. Just going to tell you a little about me before we get started. I actually checked out a lot of you guys' profiles here on Travel Massive and saw that we're here with lots of bloggers today and, you know, influencers and things like that, people who want to build their business and their brand. I was just like you, you know, not a very long time ago. So only about 2.5 years ago is when I started this journey. And so I'm here to tell you, anyone can do this with really hard work. It's not easy. It's a marathon, you know, kind of thing. But just kind of tell you a little about me before we get started. So I'm obviously the Hackerette on Instagram. You may have seen me on my account and everything. I also have a website as well, hackerette.com. I was able to quit my job as a nurse. I'm now a full-time, you know, influencer and blogger. And I was named a top 50 travel influencer in 2018. So you know, in a short time, I've accomplished quite a bit. Worked with some major brands, the Four Seasons, Expedia, Coca-Cola, many more. I've spoken internationally, you know, obviously here with Travel Massive. I've spoken in other countries as well as here in the USA where I'm based. And I also work as a consultant for bloggers and brands. So I do Instagram consulting, strategy, and just kind of all things marketing and Instagram, also building a personal brand and everything that has to do with that. So that's a little bit about me. So at least you guys know know what I'm talking about a little bit. So anyways, we'll go ahead and get started. I'm going to see if I can click to the next slide here. Okay, awesome. And so these are a few of the brands that I have worked with. As you can see, this is just a screenshot from my media kit that's on my website. You can actually go to hackerette.com and click on the media tab, and you can see a lot of the brands I've worked with along with testimonials, and there's more brands than this, but as you can see, some of the biggest brands in the world, there's Google, you know, Expedia, M&M's, Facebook, Amazon. Some of the things you can't see because, you know, they're not on the screen. There was too many to screenshot, but if you want to check out my credibility, you can go check out my website and see. So just so you guys know, I'm not, you know, someone who is just kind of telling you without experience. This is all from my own experience. And so I just wanted you guys to know that. Okay, so let's get started with, you know, why Instagram. Of course, you all guys know that Instagram is the place to be right now. There are, you know, 1 billion users monthly, and that's growing pretty much every day. You know, it's definitely more popular than TV now. Gone are the days of, you know, laying on the couch and taking the remote and just kind of mindlessly scrolling through the channels. People are really consuming content, only the content that they want, and, you know, on the time that they want, and being really choosy of what they consume. So it's gotten more and more difficult for brands to get in front of, you know, eyeballs, and, you know, so everyone's eyeballs are definitely on Instagram. And so that's kind of, you know, the things, I think this is the future of marketing. I've seen it change over the last, you know, just few years I've been doing it. And just from what I can say, it's going to go on for a bit longer. You know, is it going to be the end all? You know, everything has its cycles. I think we're in a good space right now, especially if you already have a blog and you're established. I think we're in a really good space right now. And I foresee it's going to go on for a bit longer because there's just so much invested in it, with tons of, you know, marketing agencies are, their budgets are growing. They're all kind of starting to get on board with the influencer marketing thing. A lot of people were kind of slow to adopt this, but now it's actually becoming a bit more mainstream. You know, influencer marketing has been around, you know, for as long as time. Everyone's been storytelling and telling their friends what they like. And this is just a new digital age of media. And this is kind of, I think, where it's going to go. And I think this is not going anywhere in some way, shape, or form anytime soon. And right now it happens to be on Instagram. But either way, anyone can build a personal brand. And right now the place to be is Instagram. So, okay, so we're going to talk about creating a personal brand. Like I said, a lot of you are bloggers. Looks like you already are, you know, somewhat established, or you would like to be. Whenever I do consulting, as I told y'all, I do plenty of consulting on, you know, it's a big part of my business. And a lot of people will come to me and they need some help, or they want to, build a personal brand. They want to be an influencer, they want to travel or something like that. A lot of people come to me and they already have like a personal account with like a decent amount of followers. And, I had a personal account too when I started a few years ago. And so from day one, I suggest that, if your account is very much a personal account, then I really suggest starting a fresh account. And with that being said, when you have a personal account, it's kind of like your friends and family and then a few random other people. And then, if you start all of a sudden, talking about travel and tips and doing all these things, it's going to confuse, your friends and family, and then potential new followers can also be a bit confused because it looks like a personal account in your past. So you can do a couple of things. It's kind of a fork in the road, and with each of my clients, we kind of go through together and see if there's enough established as that we can kind of like clean it up and change it into a business account, or if we just really need to start fresh. There's a lot of things we go through on the checklist to decide that, but I'll just tell you kind of either way. So either way, I suggest, starting a new fresh account so that when, everyone knows what you're doing on this account, there's no confusion, and you're going to do it right from the start, and it's going to be a business from day one. That's what I did. I'm glad I did it. It was a good decision for me, and I've never regretted it. There are people that have started with a personal account and then they kind of wish they could go back. So that's a personal decision on your business, but it's worked for me, and that's a decision for you to make depending on where you're at. Okay. And then second of all, of course, you are going to need to figure out your niche. Obviously we're here on Travel Massive, so you guys are most likely probably doing travel, or somewhat of the sort. If you're having a hard time figuring out your niche, which a lot of my clients come to me and, they can't figure it out either if they're just starting out. For me, the best thing I can say is to, what do your friends come to you for advice, right? What are people asking you about? Is that fashion tips? Is that travel tips? Is it photography tips? But your niche is going to be, you're going to have to pick something that you can talk about every single day, all day, even when it's not fun, because after 3 years or so, sometimes it's not fun, and sometimes it's work, and it's, it changes. And in the beginning, it's super fresh and it's fun. And, it's always fun. Of course, I'm not saying it's not, but it is definitely a job and it's definitely work. And once you start doing it full time, like I'm doing, you'll realize how much of work it is. And so you really need to talk about something that you love and something you could talk about all day and never kind of get sick of, because you will be doing quite a bit of it. So make sure it's something that you're passionate about. Don't do anything because it's good money. You're going to take a while to start making some money. It takes a while. So you need to be dedicated. And so yeah, that's more about finding your niche. Have a purpose. The next thing, have a purpose. Some accounts are just sort of like me accounts. And, just look at me, I'm doing this and I'm doing that. That's a personal account. Keep that on your personal account. If you don't have a purpose for your account, then you're really not going to make it. It's really saturated right now, but everything's saturated. We could go on about that all day. There are 6 million Italian restaurants in the world. I'm here in San Diego. There's at least 100, 300, I'm not sure, but everyone can make money having that same restaurant. And it's the same with Instagram. So you need to pick what you're going to do and be you, but have a purpose, right? So if people can come to you for tips or whatever, but you need to be uniquely you need to be authentic, you need to have a purpose, and you need to be offering value to people, which is our next one. So you definitely need to be offering value of some sort. People want to come to you for a couple of things. So the reason people will follow you is typically for 3 reasons. If you're going to entertain them, like with pretty photos, maybe that's travel photos, if you're, your beauty, or if you're going to educate them, if you're going to give travel tips, like I started out giving travel hacking tips, or be inspired, right? So if you're going to inspire people to travel or inspire them to follow, their heart, or make this change or whatever. So people are going to follow you to be inspired, be educated, or entertained, right? So if you can kind of like keep that in mind and offer value with every post, you're going to be on your way. If you're just kind of, I'm not sure what to post, and you're kind of treating it like a personal account, that's not going to work, and you're not going to be successful. Which brings us to our next one, which is having a goal. So you need to have a goal in mind when you first start your account. Like, how are you eventually going to monetize? Are you going to monetize by doing sponsored posts with brands and creating content? Or are you going to monetize, you know, traffic from your blog? Like, how are you going to monetize with Instagram? Are you going to do, you know, coaching? Maybe you're not even going to do travel, but you're here on this Travel Massive webinar. But like, I have a lot of clients that come to me and they, you know, one guy, I literally had a coaching session this morning before this webinar, and this one guy was awesome. He's an athlete, and he is doing investing. He's teaching athletes how to invest money so they have a life after sports. That's awesome. That's a super niche. You know, not a lot of people are doing that. And his goal is to, you know, teach people how to do that. So he's going to be doing consulting. So he's going to be using Instagram to do consulting and not so much, you know, influencing with content creation. So there's really a million ways that you can form your business around Instagram. You just really have to choose what it is that you like to do, and, you know, what it is that people are going to find value for you to do for them. Is that content creation? Is that sharing your knowledge? What is that? So have a goal in mind before you start, or as you grow, because if you're not having any kind of monetization strategy, then you're just going to be getting paid in likes, you know, and things like that, and that doesn't pay your bills. So if you really need to have, you know, a goal, and you need to treat it like a business from day one, which is why I say, you know, fresh account. So okay, so go to the next slide. All right, so with all that being said, let's talk about bio. So the bio is the first thing people see. Obviously, it's, you know, your first impression. Is, say we were walking into a room and you were going to meet people for the first time. You're going to be wearing your best outfit. You're going to have a smile. You're going to be ready to go. You know, it's putting your best face forward. So your bio is the same. Like, what's the first thing you want people to see about you? And then you need to know that they're looking what's in it for them. So it's going to take about 30 seconds for someone to decide whether they want to follow you or not. And so this is your one shot to make that impression and make them want to follow you. Like, what is in it for me? That's what everybody's going to ask you. What is it in it for me if I'm going to click the follow button? And so that all starts, of course, with your beautiful profile photo. So you want to, you know, have your best, obviously, face forward or whatever. Mine, I started out, I've come a long way in the last couple of years. I started out with a logo. You know, when you're first starting out and you create this fun logo and you've created your site, you're all excited about your logo. And what I've learned is that people don't connect with logos unless you're Nike or Google or Facebook. People don't really connect with logos, but when you're a personal brand, you are the brand. So you really need to put your face on there. If you want to do a photo of you doing something in your niche, like the guy this morning, he's such a good example. I'll use him even though he's not travel. I think it was a really good example that I told him I had an idea that he should, you know, dress in like a business suit and hold a basketball and be at the court, because he's investing and he's a pro athlete, right? So if you can do, like, show your niche in like one little profile photo, that's awesome. Or you can just do your face and kind of have your branding. Like, a lot of my feed is really blue, and I really, I like blues, and that's kind of my style. So my profile photo goes along with that and my branding. And you're gonna want to have a clear and nice profile photo that you're going to put across all platforms so that you're 100% recognized on Twitter, on Facebook, on YouTube, email, every single place that you are. People don't have to say, is that her? Is that him? They know because you're branded as this face, and they're going to recognize you every time. So with that being said, you don't really want to be changing your profile photo often. You want to find one really good. Sometimes it takes a little while to get one that you really like, that you can stick with. But you kind of want to leave it, you know, once a year or something like that. But I mean, honestly, if it's good, it's like, leave well enough alone and just leave it. That's, you know, just something that's going to like connect with people. So the next thing is putting your location in your bio. So I have my location. I'm based in San Diego when not traveling, and I have my location in my bio. It's definitely helped me to get invited to tons of events here in San Diego where I can then make connections, do networking, you know, connect with brands, see how I can help them, see if there's a synergy. And then you never know, some connections don't become fruitful for years, but then you kind of work on them or whatever. So I've made connections with people, and then a year later I had a deal with them. So connections are never lost. Networking is always a good idea. To get invited to these events, put your location in your bio. Brands have software that can search for certain keywords in your bio. And so which brings me to the next one, which is sharing your purpose. So on my bio, you'll see, it says travel, lifestyle, fashion. Those are keywords that I want to be found with, right? So you want to share those so the brands can find you, right? And also you want to show that your followers, your potential followers, hey, I'm going to be sharing content on travel, lifestyle, and fashion. If you want to follow me, this is what you're going to get, right? So when you're sharing your purpose, then they're going to know what they're going to get right away. And then we're going to move over to call to action, right? So if you have a blog, send these people to your blog. If you want to, send them to their website. If you have a freebie to give away, if you have something, you want to capture their emails and things like that. You want to call to action at the bottom, and you want them to do something if they're going to connect with you more. Maybe you have a course, or maybe you do coaching or consulting like I do, or maybe you do something, or you want brands to connect with you. Always have some sort of call to action. That website button is really valuable space. And so make sure it's going to work for you in the best way. If you don't have a website, maybe lead them to another of your social platforms that's really valuable, like Facebook or Twitter or whatever you choose, or your YouTube, of course. So those are tips for your bio. Okay, so this is kind of like, this was my profile, I think, recently. So did a quick snapshot, and so here's my bio. So here you can see I have my name. I can be found if people just type in my name. And then my website is Hackerette, and then my username is The Hackerette. Don't do that. That's a mistake that I made years ago because I didn't think that through. I didn't think it was going to be a big deal. It is a big deal. People get confused. So yeah, don't make that mistake if you can. Don't make the same mistakes as me. So yeah, if people just search Hackerette, they don't usually find me. But now that I have it in my bio, again, your name is usually searchable and that kind of thing. So I do come up. And so that's kind of helps me with that. And you can see on my bio, everything's very concise. It's very clean. I have an emoji that kind of corresponds with the things that I'm talking about in that bio, right? So San Diego, there's a wave emoji. Of course, San Diego is the beach. Content creator, I'm a blogger. It says blogger up there too. When I've imported my business in there, it shows up. And, I'm talking about travel, lifestyle, and fashion, of course. Another thing, put your email in your bio. That's another thing I don't think I mentioned, actually. Email is so important. I get so many brands that contact me, or so many opportunities, and they just don't see. I know everybody has this little email highlighted down, the clickable email, which is right above the feed there, above these little squares. Nobody sees that. Like, I don't know what it is, but it's there. It's just, I don't think a lot of people see that. Some do, but I think the majority do not. And I've had brands tell me it was so easy to contact me because I had my email, in the bio. And I think, again, we talk about brands have software to look for that. So if they're scanning emails and bios, you're going to show up. I've even still had brands text me on DM and say, what's your email? And it's literally in my bio twice. So make it really, really easy for people. People are skimming. Everyone's busy. Everyone's kind of half looking and half doing something else. So just make it really, really easy for brands to connect with you. And then that way you can get more connections and then see how you guys can work together. The next thing I had was, soon I've got Las Vegas coming up. Again, if any Las Vegas restaurants or something like that wanted to invite me as I was, in Las Vegas I was on a press trip for Las Vegas, but if I were to get any other opportunities, hey, if you're going to be in Vegas, we'd love to have you come by our restaurant or check it out or something like that. You can also make those connections. So again, those keywords, right? And then also, I have a call to action like we talked about. Mexico is on the blog. Here it is, right? And so I have my blog post. I recently went to Mexico for a brand, and so I have that blog post there. It's more traffic to my website. Some of you guys use Linktree. I've used Linktree myself. I found that sometimes that Linktree, people aren't clicking all the way through. So you're missing those visits directly to your website. So that's, again, a personal choice kind of that you need to make on your business model. So I kind of have tested it back and forth. You should always be testing. I was getting a lot more traffic to my site when I moved it back to an original URL. And so I have chosen not to use Linktree for now. So that can change. Everything's changing all the time. So And again, you can see my feed. I just wanted to show you, I'm pointing from the water here because we're laughing at the next one. So I just wanted to show you guys, like, this is my feed currently today. It's all nice. It's pretty. It goes. I'm using apps to make sure everything is going together. It's cohesive. I'm editing in Lightroom, making sure everything's flowing. I'm planning out my feed. I'm planning out my content, making sure everything's flowing and going. I'm going to show you guys where I was literally when I first started out. I think within only like the first few months when I started out. So this is my feed like only a few months in. Okay, so look at the difference. I had 1,900 followers. I had posted 49 times, you know, and you can see the difference from then and now. Look at the feed. Okay, so my feed was all over the place. I had no idea what I was doing. There was no rhyme or reason to this. My logo, me in a bathing suit, it was just a disaster, right? Like now it's obviously cleaned up. This is about 2.5 years later. I've learned a lot, you know, by trial and error, but I just want everybody to know I started right where you are. I started at zero. Every single person starts at zero. Don't be discouraged. Work super hard. Put effort into it every single day. Consistent imperfect action is what you need to be doing every single day. Anybody can do this. Like I said, this was literally me a while back. It's grown and evolved so much since then, and learned a lot. So just don't be discouraged. If anybody can do this, if I can do this, anybody can do this. And this feed to your left is proof. Okay, so we're going to talk about now creating the right content. I'm just going to grab a sip of water 1 second. My throat is hurting. Okay, so we're going to talk about creating the right content. So the 6 C's of content, right? Okay. So you're going to try to capture interesting angles. When we all first start out, none of us are photographers. We're just hobby photographers. We're traveling around, we're doing stuff, and we're taking photos of it. As you evolve, you're going to realize that there's a lot of beautiful, beautiful content on Instagram. You're going to need thumb-stopping photos. You're going to have interesting angles. You're going to want to switch it up. You know, you want to like get around, play with it, right? So this is like something you're going to practice. You're now a content creator, so you're going to want to do something more than point and shoot all the time. You're going to want to do interesting angles, do something different, go where everybody else is not going. You know, I just was in Vegas this past weekend for a press trip and for the tourism board, and you know, everybody's going inside. I was staying at the Venetian, and they wanted photos at the Venetian, and everybody's going inside and doing the gondolas, and no one goes outside and sees that there's even gondolas outside. I bet half of you probably didn't even know that they have gondolas outside because everyone takes photos of the inside. So I actually went outside, took photos. They loved it. You know, it's something people haven't seen all over Instagram. So if everyone's taking a left on Instagram, take a right. You know, do something different, capture interesting angles, be you, innovate. Don't do what everybody else is doing. There's room for that too, but you need to also do something different if you're going to stand out. So you want to also, the next thing is cohesive editing and presets. If you don't have your own presets, there's plenty of bloggers who are selling them. You can buy some ones that you like, or you can create your own for free. Lightroom is a free app on any phone. I still to this day just use the free version. It totally works for me, as you can see. I didn't like anybody's presets, you know, but I've been at this a few years, and I created my own. I don't sell them as of yet. I may later, I'm not sure. Had a few requests, but either way, you can easily create your own presets. Go in Lightroom, you know, mess with your photos enough and save it. You can just do add to and make a folder and create your own folder of presets. And then just you can hit copy and paste, and you can copy and paste your own preset onto each of your photos. And so what you're going to do is, you know, that's going to be your base preset. So I have a bunch of my presets saved, and there's different, you're going to have to edit a little bit. They're all not going to look good on every single photo, but you always have your base preset where you're starting from. And so you throw your base preset on there, and then you edit a bit to make it look right for that scene in that photo, which is always going to be the way. You're always going to have to a little bit edit after, and then you can go from there. But then they all have the same base, and so then you have this beautiful cohesive look. I did an Instagram success event here in San Diego actually in November, and one of the students in the class asked me if I only traveled to blue places, and I had to laugh because I was like, no. Could you imagine me being like, I can only travel to blue places, nowhere else. But no, some photos are even taken, you know, in my house or outside or whatever. It's not only blue places. I just have a blue hue because of my presets, and it doesn't make the photo look totally blue, but it's how you can make a cohesive feed. So that's a big deal. And you can use apps like Unum or whatever, some kind of plan to get everything cohesive and make sure that everything's flowing before you post. So captions. Captions are a big deal. Like, you don't have to have long captions for every caption, but you need to be trying to use your captions to connect with your audience. You need to offer value, all those things that we talked about. How are you offering value to their life? Are you doing funny quotes? Are you being inspirational? Are you entertaining? Are you doing tips? Like, what are you going to do with these captions? This is your time to, again, create a conversation, which is the next one, and connect. So you can ask the question, you can connect, every now and then you can do a short caption where you don't connect or whatever, but you need to mix this in. But either way, this is all about connecting with your followers and your audience and seeing what they like, what they're about, what are the things. You can also do this in stories. A lot of times in stories, I will ask my audience, hey, do you like shorter captions or longer captions? And a lot of times, I've gotten short captions and I'm like, perfect, less for me to do, so, but I think just as my way of storytelling, I do some long captions sometimes. So I kind of do a mix. Some people don't read my captions at all, and it's kind of annoying, but it is what it is. And that's fine. Some people just like the pretty photos. And again, they're just using it for entertainment. Some people love the long captions and they read every word and they comment a thoughtful comment. You're going to get a mix of everything, especially as you grow. Don't be offended. Do you be authentic, keep at it. And that brings us to the next one. Consistent, imperfect action just on the daily. Just keep going, keep doing it. Just stay consistent. You're going to have to do this to grow. It took me a really long time, to kind of grow and just keep growing. And I have just stuck with it. I'm consistent every day. I'm stubborn, I guess. But if you just continue to do it, you will be successful if you really continue to do it and implement all of these strategies that I'm telling you. Okay, growing a loyal and engaged audience. Again, what do they want from you? You don't know? Ask them. Use a caption to ask them, what can I help you with? How can I help you? Do you want travel tips? Do you want outfit, tips or inspiration? Like, how can I help you? What do you guys want to see? Sometimes people don't know what they want to see. They're looking to you to show them what they want to see. I ask my audience all the time, what do you want to see? They don't know. Some people don't know. And so that's fine. Sometimes they do, sometimes they don't. But then you kind of go with whatever you're seeing that people are wanting, you can kind of give them more of that, right? So even if they don't tell you, you can see by your engagement, by your likes, by the comments, by the photos that do better. Take that and see what they want from you, even if they're not telling you, and give them more of that. Again, what's in it for them, right? So again, we talked about bio, what's in it for them. So you're going to need to give them some kind of value. And again, give, and take. So give, take is talking about, so say you're getting good, you're doing some, sponsored posts and things like that. You're going to want to filter those in. You can't just be ad after ad after ad after ad. Or if you're selling something or you're coaching or your courses, you can't just constantly ask for the sale, right? So think about if you were back in the days of TV that nobody does anymore. Say, TV there were so many commercials, which is why everyone stopped watching TV, right? And so say you were watching an episode of your favorite show and every 5 minutes there was an ad, there was a commercial, and you just couldn't stand it because you just want to watch the show, right? So as a personal brand, your feed is the show. Your feed is the entertainment. Your feed is the thing, and you are the brand. So if you are going to do ads with brands, that's a take, right? So basically, you're not going to want to do that any more than 1/4 of your feed. If you do it more than that, every now and again, it is what it is. But, try to use that as a rule of you don't want to be, just constantly pushing the sale or pushing the ad or whatever. Everybody knows that Instagrammers do make money on ads. We have to make a living, it is what it is. But if you're giving them that value, if you're giving those tips, if you're giving and giving, they're not going to mind if you take back just a little bit, right? But if you're constantly take, people are going to tune out. They're going to unfollow, and so you really want to keep your audience in mind always. And it's better for brands. It's better for you. And then when you do only so many sponsored posts, your audience is not going to tune out. So I only do, X amount of sponsored posts a month because of this reason. because I don't want to turn off my audience, because it's bad for the audience, it's bad for me, and then it's bad for brands as well. So basically you don't want your audience to tune out. So, okay. And so again, the next one, pivot when you need to. So this is, a little bit with my story. Obviously my name is The Hackerette on Instagram. And so when I first started out, I was a really good travel hacker. I knew how to find error fares, glitches in the system. I still obviously know how to do that. I was travel hacking my way all around the world. This is the reason that I started my blog, because I was kind of sick of everybody asking me the same question. How do you do it? How do you do it? How do you do it? I built a blog, I built a course on how I did it so I could just point people there. That was great. That's how I started. I have pivoted because now I have, gotten more into I was always passionate about photography from way before there was even an Instagram. I was the one posting albums on Facebook and MySpace back in the day, hundreds of photos from Paris, and just taking people through every single thing. And people would always say things like, I love your photos. I feel like I was in Paris and it's like I was there. I love how you post everything. And that was way before any of this was going on. And so I always loved doing that. And so I then started making these connections with brands, and I was able to offer them value and content creation. And then that became like a huge part of my business, and I love it. So my course is still obviously available and for sale. It's not the core of my business as much anymore, and that's okay. As an entrepreneur and a personal brand, you're allowed to pivot when you need to and when you want to. If you decide that you don't like something, don't do it anymore. Don't do anything for money in this business, because you're not going to enjoy it. You're just working yourself into another job that you don't like. So always keep that in mind. Okay, so set yourself up for success. So if you're going to want to do this, this is, again, a long-term game. This is a marathon, not a race. If you want to start doing this kind of work or doing more of this work, I don't know where you guys are at. There are tons of influencer platforms. You can join these platforms. Just any Google search of influencer platforms, there's a ton of them. You need to join them, and you're going to probably start working for free. Everybody starts out for free. You got to start working for product exchange. You got to show brands that you can actually do it. Doing sponsored content is an art, and it's much more than taking a blurry selfie with a product in your hand, right? It takes an art, it takes practice. You need to keep, the brand happy. You need to keep your audience happy, and you need to keep yourself happy. And that's also an art that you need to learn. So you need to practice your craft, and, like I said, start working for product trade and create a portfolio. If a brand can't pay you, work for a testimonial. Say, I'm happy to, work with you. I'm going to do my best job. Would you please, write a testimonial for me? I'm sure they would do that for you, especially if you do a really good job and you go above and beyond for them. You're creating, number one, a connection and a relationship with the brand. You're offering them value. You're getting a testimonial in return that later you can create your media kit for your website. And you can also pitch that to brands in the future. So you're always building, you're always using these experiences. Yes, you may work for free, but it holds so much value for you later. So never look at any opportunity as, a waste. You're practicing, you're learning, you're growing. You're going to learn so much by actually just doing. The process of doing, nothing can replace that. So you really need to do it for free a couple of times before you start charging, so you feel a little more confident in it. And then you can start charging small as you go and work your way up. So you're going to create a media kit. Anybody can go to my website and click on hackerette.com and click on media. Some people do a media kit. They make one on Canva and they make it all pretty. I don't have time to update that constantly. And so I do mine on my site, and then it updates across every single link I've ever sent out. And that I don't have to constantly resend a new media kit. I'm all about easy. Again, I love hacks. So, also a lot of international companies. I do a lot of international travel and sponsorships with brands that are overseas. A lot of their Wi-Fi is slow. They're not able to download a huge PDF. Everyone can click a link. So, and sometimes emails will throw it to spam if you send this huge file of a media kit, and it'll go straight to spam and they'll never even see it anyways. And some people it looks like a virus and things like that. If they don't know you, they've never heard of you. Again, everyone can click a link. So that's what I do. That's what I recommend. It's easy to keep up with. You just go in there, you update your numbers, update what brands you've worked with, update your testimonials, and boom. I've never had a problem, been doing this for a couple years. Everybody's able to click on the link. It's no problem. Also, you want to, so all these things are going to set you up for success. So you're going to look like a professional brand, and you need to maintain yourself and run yourself as a professional brand. You need to always be, respectful. You need to be on time. You need to respond to emails within 24 hours. Treat it like a corporate job. You need to treat this like a job until it is your job. And that's one of the reasons I think I've been very successful. A lot of these people are not treating this in a serious way. Even if it's a free trade, you need to treat this seriously, and you're going to make a good name for yourself. They're going to give you that good testimonial, and you're going to be professional, and you're going to build like a foundation of professionalism and be respected in the industry. And so again, another thing, you want to keep it clean. If you're going to work with huge brands like Google, Coca-Cola, Facebook, all these that I've worked with, you need to keep it clean. Like, you don't want to be, out partying, drinking, this stuff. Some brands are not even going to work with you if you've posted alcohol on your feed. So just keep all this in mind. You want to keep it clean. You want to keep it nice. You want to be professional. Set yourself up for success. Think about what you're posting. How are you offering value? Treat this like a business. Okay, so monetizing. So if you're going to start monetizing, you've done some, sponsored posts, you've done some freebies, some trade or whatever, now you're ready to do some sponsored posts for some actual money. If brands aren't coming to you, go out and pitch. Don't sit and wait for people to come to you. And, pitch. Like, find brands you love that again, you can work for free once and build that relationship. You can go on these platforms. There's tons of influencer platforms. Pitch. Don't sit there and sit back and be like, I'm not getting any brand deals, because they're not going to come to you. Like, sometimes they'll come to you, and as you grow, they'll find you and come to you, but don't sit back and say, well, nothing's coming. Get out there and hustle and pitch and send them, your media kit, get it going on your site, show how you can help them. Like, what is in it for the brand? So everyone needs to know what's in it for them, right? Including your followers, including brands. Like, how can you help brands? Do you create beautiful content? Do your followers love travel? Do your followers love, tips on fashion or whatever? Do you do a mix of some interesting niche, like the guy earlier today with basketball or whatever? Pitch. How are you different? How are you going to stand out? What do you have to offer a brand? Is it a brand that aligns with what you're doing? So when you pitch, you need to show how you can help. Don't just be about the money. Don't just be about, how much can you pay me and stuff like that. Hey, I'm Kamelia. I'm over here at the Hackerette. Here's a link to my media kit, along with testimonials. And here's a link to my feed. I would love to discuss a potential collaboration. Let me know if you'd like to chat. You can hop on the phone with these guys. Like, you can do an email, like whatever. Just get out there, pitch, make relationships. And it's hard work. It is. Don't think, and anyone who tells you that it's not is lying. So I'm here to tell you it's hard work, but it is worth it. You can do this, but you just gotta put in the hustle, because everyone else is putting in the hustle that's successful as well. You can ask any blogger. Everyone's working their butt off. So, another hack that I love and use myself, you can follow hashtags on Instagram. And so you can follow hashtag ad or sponsored. And then the lazy way, you're going to get people that are already doing content sponsored right in your feed, right? So if you follow hashtag ad and hashtag sponsored, and you see a brand that you love, or you see it like a post that you love, and you click on it and it's a brand that you would love to work with, then they're working with influencers or bloggers. And so they may be working for trade or budget, whatever. You can kind of look and see. As a general rule, hashtag ad typically means that money was exchanged, and hashtag sponsored typically means that it was a gifted or some trade or something like that. This is not 100%. This is more of like, the majority or whatever. So, but either one of those are going to send you brands that are interested in working with influencers right to your feed the lazy way, if you don't have a lot of time to spend on this. You can also go to the hashtag and just go search, and make a list of brands, whatever, and then start using your pitch using that way. So, again, start small, work your way up, take on some work, get familiar, get comfortable, learn, grow, constantly be practicing your craft and doing these things. And you're going to grow, and it's going to build, and then it will exponentially build as you grow, and as you get better, it's going to grow. So, so what to charge? So there's a lot of things talking about what to charge lately. there's a rule of thumb kind of going around that it's like, say you have like, it's like basically 10,000 followers is like $100 or something like that. So if you have 100,000, that's $1,000 per post or whatever. And then stories is, I don't know what stories is right now, but at the same time, not all brands have this budget. So that's sort of like a general rule, but it could really go up or down or whatever. So don't stick to that perfectly perfect. That just gives you sort of a place to start. A lot of brands, pay less than that. And you just have to decide, because there's so many factors on this. Like, what is your engagement like? What is your content like? Does the brand fit with you? Your niche, like how much are you a fit for this campaign? If they're going after like moms, are you a mom? Like, every campaign is different. So sometimes you don't fit the mold of this or that. So it's really hard to say what to charge. You really need to size up the opportunity. Sometimes I've taken less money for brands that are a really good fit, or they're really amazing for like my media kit, and I'm like, oh, I want to say that I worked with Google, I did a paid post with them, you know what I mean? So, but I lowered my rate a bit because I was like, hey, I've worked with Google, and that's major, credibility for me. And I'm able to now put that on my media kit. So what to charge is really something that you'll kind of come to know with time. Start small, work your way up, get a feel for it. And then also what feels good to you. If you already have a job and you're already making money, what feels good to you? Does $50 feel good to you? Or are you like, no, I'm not going to bother with this for less than 200, So what to charge is really a personal choice. If you're doing a good job, are you hiring a photographer? Say all that in your pitch. If you're negotiating back and forth, you need to say, because if a brand knows that you're hiring a professional photographer and you're not just doing this yourself, you have a team you have to pay, you may be able to negotiate, higher rate, or if you're doing something really cool and different. So rates can be adjusted like that. If you're going to go shoot them, their product, like I took, Godiva with me to St. Lucia, and I shot their chocolates in St. Lucia. And so they were willing to pay for that, and so it's like, instead of just me in the kitchen eating chocolate, I was eating chocolate, on the beach in St. Lucia in paradise. Right. So it just depends. So rates are really, don't get stuck on a number, get stuck on what value you can provide to brands. What is your true value? You know where you got those followers, if you're doing whatever, you know what I mean? So what true value can you provide? And are you going to be able to give this brand ROI? There's value in content creation. Are they going to reuse your photo? There's lots of ways. There's lots of things that go with like what to charge, right? So it's very hard to say what to charge. And I usually tell brands, hey, my rates really vary depending on the scope of work involved, because I really don't know what I'm creating for you. And until I do, do you want a flat lay? I can charge less for that. Do you want me to create this whole entire grand, theme or whatever? That's going to take a bit more, so decide what you want to offer, what the budget is. If a brand has a certain budget that they're like, hey, we only have $200, and they want, ABC, and you're like, I'm not doing that for $200. You can then say what you will offer for $200. So, it's all about making sure both sides are happy, keeping your audience happy, keeping you happy, keeping the brand happy, providing value, and just doing a really good job and always doing your best. So after the partnership, right, you're going to always follow up. You're going to say, hey, is there anything else I can do for you? Most brands are going to want screenshots of analytics after you post. Follow up with them and offer it to them before they ask you, right? They're going to be like, oh, thank you. Everybody wants that. It's like, you can offer that. Don't wait for them to ask, follow up, send it to them, and, be like, is there anything else I can do for you? They're going to remember that, and they're going to be like, she was awesome to work with. Let's work with her again when they have their next campaign. Which leads me to extend the partnership. So, always say, hey, is there anything else I can do for you? Thank you so much. It was great to work together. Please do keep me in mind for any future collaborations that you think I might be a fit for. Usually people will say yes. You can actually say, hey, whatever, kind of extend the partnership if you want to do something more with them. You can create something new or whatever. But yeah, basically just try to keep these people, always do a good job. Don't have anybody coming away from working with you feeling regretful. Have everybody excited that they worked with you and feeling valuable, whether they made sales or not. If they had a good experience, you know what, they had a good experience and they're going to remember you for that. So always just do your best to provide truly your best, and you'll make a great name for yourself and you'll be successful. So yeah. All right, guys. And so that was like kind of a general thing on what I teach like in my classes here in San Diego at my events. I obviously go much deeper at my events. This is great for the webinar. If any of you would like to do, I do offer Instagram consulting and coaching packages for brands and for bloggers, influencers, personal brands, anything basically to do with personal branding, marketing, getting seen on Instagram, anything and everything like that. I've done it. I've been there. I've grown a business from day one, from scratch, on my own, and figured it out through trial and error. I've been very successful in doing this. And so I do offer consulting packages. You can just go to hackerette.com and click on, I think it says Instagram coaching. Click there. I have packages. Send me an email, and we can talk about what your specific strategy would be for your niche. It's just so different for everybody depending on that goal. Like, are you going to make money as an influencer? Are you going to make money through courses? Are you going to make money bringing people on tours? Like, I've done that as well. So I've done quite a bit of things. I've literally tried everything in the last probably 2 years. I've taken people on travel tours. I've done consulting. I've built courses. I've spoken at events, like everything. I've done brands. I've done press trips. I've created content for brands, lifestyle brands, travel brands, fashion brands. I've done a lot of things. So I have a lot of information to share with you guys. So if you do want to work with me directly, then you can check out packages there. Okay, and so we're gonna head over to Q&A. So Kristen, yeah, I'll take some questions now.
Okay, wonderful. Thank you so much. So yeah, as Kamelia said, let's take some questions now. As I said, we'll only be taking 5 questions to make the best use of Kamelia's time today. So just shoot us through a question in the chat box below. So I think we've had a few questions asked already. So, I mean, this was a question that we got pretty early on in the webinar. You might want to you did touch on it a bit, but if you could just give us a little bit more info. So this person's asking, when you say worked with them, they're asking if it was all paid collaboration.
Worked with who? Worked with the brands that I've worked
with?
Yeah,
the brands that you listed in.
Oh yeah. No, I only did a few free in the very beginning. No, like, I mean, I think every brand listed on my site has been paid. Yeah, I've done paid collaborations because I only did a few for free in the very beginning. And then, I was a nurse full time, and for me, my business model, I simply did not have time to go be a nurse and then come home and work for free as I was still building and everything. And so that was my personal decision. And so I got my first brand deal when I had 20,000 followers. And before that, I think I only did a couple free, like 2 or 3. And my first one was at 20,000 where I got paid. And then once I realized I could make money, then I just never took any free again, because I was already at 20,000 and my content was good, and I already knew what I was doing. I guess I created content for free for traveling because I was, it wasn't for any brands, but people I was like traveling for just, personally and paying for it. I was kind of creating hotel content and video content for those brands for free to practice, to show like how I could do it. And so that's kind of how I was building up, like, my actual, I guess, Instagram page. I didn't really even do a media kit until later. Like I said, I learned all this as I went, and I didn't really have anybody to tell me, or I didn't really get it, so it took me some time. So by the time I actually put a media kit on my page, I think I was already making money. So yeah, they're all paid. Every one of those were paid brands.
Okay, so just giving a little background to that question now, is that they recently stayed with Fairmont for free, but how did you then transition to getting paid for that?
So that really depends on the person. So I don't know who this person is, or, are they gonna create content or whatever? I mean, they hired me for a blog post. And so I was going there anyway. My sister lives in Dallas, and I was heading there, and, I said, hey, I'll stay there for some photos, kind of like a trade because my sister lives there. And then they then, because I reached out, they really wanted a blog post as well. And so I was like, well, I'll have to charge for that. And so they agreed to, pay for that. And so that was that.
Okay, so another question was in regards to your media kit and website, do you recommend posting your rates?
I don't, because my rates change depending on the scope of work involved, as I said. So, depending on if do they want a link in bio? Do they want this kind of photo? Do they want that kind of photo? Do I have to travel there? Do I have to take a day and do this? So rates, like I said, are depending on the scope of work involved. So I don't have my rates listed on my media kit because my rates are generated by the scope of work involved.
Right, okay. So Sharon is asking, I guess this is in relation to hashtag ad and hashtag sponsored, but do you ever use hashtag press trip as well?
I haven't, but you certainly could. You can really, but I don't think that bloggers are using that. I mean, if they are, go for it. I don't look at that because it's not something, that I've ever done. I've never used the hashtag press trip. I think I used it in stories once actually, but that's it. I've never used that on my feed, and I don't know of any other bloggers that are getting paid to go on press trips that are using that in the feed. So I don't know if that would necessarily bring value, but you can, of course, try it.
Okay, so another question is, you said you worked with tour operators. How does it differ in terms of consulting them than with influencers?
Over consulting? So yeah, I mean, I ran a tour myself, which is what I said. I think I hosted a tour myself. I created a tour and took 8 people to Costa Rica about a year ago. So I was the actual tour operator. But if you're asking about consulting on how to work with tour operators, the strategy is going to be different for every single person. And so I basically have every single person that works with me, I connect with them and I have them fill out a questionnaire. And that tells me exactly the things that I need to know to then create a specific sort of lesson plan for them before we actually get onto the consult. So hours and hours of work, like a few hours of work goes into before we even get on the phone together to do the consult. I basically ask them questions. I go do research. Depending on the answers that you gave me, I go and do research, and then I basically create sort of a session and a lesson plan for you and a strategy session. And then we get on the phone together, on video Skype, and then we basically go through that strategy and help you kind of come to, for that hour.
Okay, so this is a bit of a difficult question, I guess. Talking about money is always a bit of a challenge with how much people can steal or not. But could you give a little bit more about the real rates that you're working with? So, for example, how much you would charge Godiva for that post that you mentioned earlier?
I don't share my rates publicly because it's not fair to my clients. And so that question won't be getting answered because that's a private question. If I asked you how much you made at your job, then would you answer that question? I mean, I don't think that that's a very a question that can be publicly displayed.
So I guess kind of how you mentioned before about how there's that kind of I guess topic going on at the moment with paying $100 for if you've got 10,000 followers. So I guess in the beginning, when you were kind of getting your first, when you were kind of first started making money with 20,000 followers, do you think that is kind of on the money or a bit off, or?
Again, it's really different for everybody. It depends on your account. It depends on your content. Are you a fit for the brand? What's your engagement like? I know people that are making money with 4,000 followers, and I know people with, 20,000 that aren't making anything. So it really depends on you and the brand. And if you're going to apply the right strategies to make money, I think it's possible for anybody to make money on Instagram. You just have to know how to do it.
Okay, great. Well, thank you so much for answering our questions today. So that's all the questions we have time for. So thanks so much for joining, everyone. And as always, don't forget to sign up for our next webinars. Our next one is going to be with my colleague, Ben, who can answer any questions you have on analytics. He's a bit of a superstar in my opinion, so be sure not to miss it. So thanks so much, everyone. And massive thanks to Kamelia again for joining us today.
Thank you.
Thanks. Bye.
Bye.